Right, making paper in ancient times, well, in very, very ancient times, the Sumerians and the Mesopotamians wrote on clay tablets, and they would push little shapes into the clay, and this was called cuneiform writing, and they would bake the clay tablets in the oven so that they would become as strong as plates, and that's why we still have their books from all that long time ago. But the Romans and the Egyptians, they used to write on beech boards. Beech is a type of wood which you can cut into very, very thin boards, and they would write on the beech boards. Or they would write sometimes on leaves as well. And more commonly, they would write on beech bark. The bark of a beech tree gave a very smooth surface for writing on. And the Romans would use this for writing letters and sending it by post. And sometimes even books were used. And more notably, in ancient Egypt, a special plant grew which was called papyrus. And you can see the papyrus here. And papyrus was treated in the same way as flax we saw in the earlier picture. Inside the papyrus plant are long fibers. So the plant would be cut into thin strips, and then they would be beaten together to make papyrus paper. And Egypt used to export paper all over the world, and all the paper pretty much used in the Roman Empire came from Egypt, and the supply only dried up after Egypt became a Muslim country, and then Europe stayed Christian, and so the Europeans had to find another way of making paper because they couldn't get it from Egypt anymore. And so they invented paper making, and this is what we see here. The paper is made by a paper maker in a paper mill, which is what this building is here. And in the paper mill, for very high quality paper, old clothes, which are collected here, old linen clothes, they are stamped into a mash, and they're all mashed up here. This machinery, the mill here, is turning these things around, and they're banging up and down on the clothes to mash them up into their fibers. And then the fibers are taken up and they're put onto frames. You can see the man here spreading the fibers out onto a frame, and then he sets the frames in the air, and on these frames he spread this goo out as thin sheets, and then when they are slightly dry he hangs them up here to dry, and we have sheets of paper drying. 24 sheets of paper make a quire of paper in a pad, and 20 quires of paper make a ream of paper, which you can see here, a great big block of paper called a ream, and 10 reams of paper here make a bale of paper. And that is how paper used to be sold, by quires and reams and bales. And in fact, when we at school want to buy paper for the photocopier, we buy a ream of paper, so we still use this word. And if you want something to last for a very long time, then specially prepared animal skin is used, which is called parchment. And you can see the animal skin here has been stretched out, it's been scraped with a knife, it's been treated with lime, which we studied about earlier, to make it white, and then it's polished with a pumice stone to make it smooth so we can write on. And this is parchment, which is used for writing the Torah scroll by the Jews, and very expensive books are also used. It's used as a cover for very expensive books, and very important documents also are on parchment, like the example of the laws of the English Parliament, which the Queen signs, are on parchment, because that means they last for a very long time. And that is a paper mill, which you can see here. And this whole thing was invented because of the Muslim conquest and the fact that the people in Europe couldn't get papyrus anymore, because the supply of papyrus was cut off because of the war with Egypt.